After 10,000 interviews, one leader discovered that the executives who win interviews are always the ones who build results. Rod McDermott is an entrepreneur and CEO of McDermott Bull and Activate 180, an initiative focused not just on who leads at the top, but on strengthening the entire enterprise. For 20 years, Rod sat inside the world's most elite boardrooms.
Great interview is great, but we're not hiring somebody to be a great interviewer. We're not hired to fill jobs. We are hired to create outcomes. And true leadership is about creating followership and taking people on that journey with them.
Following the leader is really optional.
Right.
Even if they're working for you.
There's a saying in flying, fly the plane to the scene of the crash. When you get in trouble, it's because you stop flying the plane. It's the same thing in business. Business is no different.
In this episode, you'll discover why charisma wins interviews, but often loses organizations, the one leadership trait that actually creates followership, and how to build strength across the entire enterprise, not just the corner office.
You look at them and say, God, if I was working in this industry, I'd want to work for this person.
It's time to lead the team. What do you believe is the most overrated quality in a C-level executive, and what's the most underrated quality in a C-level executive?
So I would say the most overrated, because I've seen some really charismatic C-level executives. They come in and they own a room, but there's not depth behind it, right? So they can inspire for periods of time because people follow them and they have great talk tracks. But if they don't have depth or they don't know how to build a team behind them to be able to go after the vision that they set, there's nothing there. It's kind of like a house of cards. And I've seen some other people, and I tell clients this, like when you see a board interview candidates and they'll say, well, so-and-so was a great interview. I mean, they really connected with us and they did all these things. I'm like, yeah, but keep drilling down. And these are my own candidates. I'm like, great interview is great, but we're not hiring somebody to be a great interviewer. Sometimes we'll put somebody in front that maybe has worked for the same company for 12 years, moved up through the ranks, and they're not as good an interviewer. Why? Because maybe they don't have the same amount of practice. They haven't had as many jobs and as many opportunities to interview, but it doesn't make them any less of a leader that should be considered for that role. And so I have to teach either boards or groups of hiring folks, hey, look past all that, look past the charisma, look past the connection, and understand the vision behind this person, understand their ability to sell that vision to other folks and get people enrolled in it. See if it really makes their heart, if it makes their heart sing. If it does, and it's more than just a job, that's a big part of it. And then see how they can enroll people in it. Give them a project. Give them a team to work with.
That's so good.
You're not hired to fill jobs. They can do that on their own. They can do that with anybody. We are hired to create outcomes.
Right. So if charisma isn't it and outcomes are the goal, what actually creates followership?
And true leadership, in my mind, is about creating followership and taking people on that journey with them. And great CEOs always realize that people will make up their own stories if you don't tell them the truth. They will figure it out for themselves. And oftentimes their story is worse than any truth you could ever tell them. So if the business isn't doing good and you've got CEOs or other leaders that are like, well, they can't handle it, I'm not sure if I can tell them this stuff. Usually they're making it up even worse than it is. And so when I've met these level 5 type leaders, they say, let's get everybody in a room. Let's talk to them. Let's tell them what we're up against. And let's get this entire team out there. It's like an athletic team being out on the field and they're down, 27-7 and they're in the second half. Well, yeah, they can come back, but they need to look at the scoreboard. They need to know what's going on so that they can effectively help you win the game. And good leaders recognize that. So when you meet those folks, they put you in a place that like I said earlier, like you look at them and say, God, if I was working in this industry, I'd want to work for this person. I'll give you a little background. So I've had an executive coach for about 25 years and has been with me on the journey since we started a year after starting our business. And my partner and I realized we don't have all the answers. It'd be great to have a coach. And when he came in here, he asked us, what situations you're dealing with right now that you want to solve. And we said, well, there's new things that come up every week. I can't name one situation. As soon as we saw, it's like whack-a-mole. As soon as we solve something else comes up. He goes, right answer. Don't look at coaching to be situational. look at coaching as one of the tools
Hmm.
in your toolbox that's going to help you on this journey, right? You don't just
Hmm.
buy a tool when you need it and throw it out the door. You buy a tool, you put it in your toolbox, and it's there for you to use. Coaching is like that. And so when we engaged him, we would use him for a certain number of hours a month. He was very, very expensive because he's one of the top executive coaches, I think, in the world. He's coached CEOs of some of the biggest companies, people who've run for governor and done, different things like that that you know of that he's coached. But every once in a while, I'd have an employee say, "Hey, could I get an hour of his time?" We'd say, "Sure, yeah."
Hmm.
Hey, after that hour, they'd say, "Can I get one more?" And yeah, sure. And they would.
This is going to add up.
Yeah, exactly. We could not afford to roll it out to everybody, but invariably, even 2 one-hour meetings would be life-changing for them. And so the idea
Hmm.
came to us that there is an opportunity to be able to serve this underserved market of non-executives by being able to bring an affordable
Hmm.
model to them. And how can we do? And ironically, our coach who is not affordable was able to help us with this. He was able to help us with
Okay.
and help us craft a model. He also had us read a book called The $1 Trillion Coach. And the
Oh,
and the book was written by Eric Schmidt from Google.
yes.
And so when he retired from Google, he wrote this book and he wrote it about a guy named Bill Campbell who had worked for Steve Jobs. And he went to Steve and said, "Hey, I'm going to quit." And Steve said, "Fine, but I need you to be my coach." And he also coached Eric Schmidt and some of the executives at Google. And he was on a 20-year journey with these guys. So it wasn't just
Hmm.
situational. It was about being involved in the entire journey to helping them achieve their long-term vision, not just solve short-term problems. And the book they wrote about talked about how he was invaluable to them being the companies that they became, both Apple and Google. And so that's a big part of the basis for what we formed Activate 180 around was providing that consistent
Hmm.
partnership between a coach and a client over long periods of time, but also, and this is the big part, being able to make it affordable so we could democratize it and not just give it to the executives in the top of the capsule, but 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 be the rocket fuel all the employees. And so that's what we developed with Activate 180.
Hey there, this is Ben. If you're building a company or leading inside one, this conversation could change how you hire. After 10,000 executive interviews, Rod McDermott says the trait most boards reward is often the one that quietly weakens performance. Charisma fills rooms and outcomes build enterprises. Now, if you care about creating real followership, not just strong interviews, you need this framework. Subscribe so you don't miss conversations like this in the future. And if you know a leader who's still hiring for presence instead of performance, share this episode with them as well. The leaders who get this right win. Well, and so what's been the results? And I'm thinking about the results for you as a leader who's you've built this career on executive search. And what have you noticed and like in your own development, having the coach and now sharing this? And what are your clients noticing since you've added Activate 180 to your portfolio?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So a lot of the CEOs of the companies we coach will forward things from their team. Again, a lot of teams hadn't had this opportunity in the past to have one-on-one coaching for rank and file. It's primarily been reserved for the executives. And there's companies that are out there that are working on democratizing it and trying to bring it to, if you will, kind of the every person in companies. But when they share some of the feedback from their people and they share some of the stories, they are incredibly impactful. And what happens is the
Hmm.
employees now know not only is the company quote unquote investing in them, giving them tools, giving them training, but by coaching is different than training. The half life of a training program is like 4 weeks. You know,
Yeah.
even mentoring
You
is
get it done, you leave, everybody goes back to doing what they did before.
exactly. And you'll walk away with a tidbit that will stay there. And if you create habits and behaviors that are changing based on that tidbit, then you'll carry something with you. But it's very, very small percentage. Whereas coaching
Yeah.
is about up leveling people in all facets of their life. Right. And I know that if we can have
Hmm.
people show up as their best selves, they're going to produce at a higher level for the company. So that's good for everybody.
I've read about the Activate method. and this is something that you and your organization are really, I guess it sounds like it's like the spine, or it's the sort of the platform behind the coaching that everybody's working from. And I made a note that the coaching includes things like financial coaching, health coaching, relationships. It's like red flag, red flag, red flag, right? The bosses are now getting in. Like you're coaching, I won't say red flag, but you're, to some bosses, to some executives, are like, man, I don't want to get involved in my employees' finances, or God forbid, their relationships. I just want them to do their job. Why have you decided to run with this model that is getting more into the weeds with the employees, and not just stay on the business side?
It's interesting when I started working with my coach, as I said 25 years ago, I said the same exact thing to him. I said, "Listen, this is about me being the best leader I can be. So I want you to stay very focused on professional rod, not personal rod, not on any of this other stuff." And he said, "Where on you is that line that's drawn that divides personal from professional? Because I'm seeing one person
Nice.
show up, and what I can
Huh.
tell you is when you show up." And you've got something that's going on, whether it's in your home life, whether it's with one of your kids, whether it's financial related, trying to figure out how to put a kid through college or buy a house or whatever it is, that slows you down. As a business
Mm-hmm.
person, as a leader, it becomes an anchor that slows you down. If I can find a way to release you from those things, I can help you run faster. And so
Hmm.
it's really kind of the model is whole human, right? How do we help whole human beings show up as their best selves? So career and professional development is always kind of our central pillar, but these other four pillars are really important because those are the stresses that humans deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and one
Yeah.
day you might come in, I might be talking to my coach, and he's like, "What's weighing on you today?" I mean, literally, this happened one day. I said, "I think my son's an alcoholic." And he
Hmm.
goes, "All right, let's talk about that." And we created a plan and
Wow.
a path, and I had clarity about how I was gonna go home and talk with my wife and also talk with my son about getting him on a path to being sober. True story,
Wow.
But that was weighing on me.
Yeah.
I
And that liberated you to, once you go through those things, it frees your mental capacity up to focus on other things, maybe more like work or other parts of your life. But with that hanging over your head, it is hard to stay focused. I think everybody can relate to that.
Yeah, we cut the chain from the anchor. The anchor that was slowing me
Yeah.
down, we cut that because we saw for it and we moved on. And then, something will come up the next week. You have parents' health or something else that's happening that's weighing on. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's create some clarity and let's move forward. This is all real life. So again, it's about giving people the opportunity and the tools through their coach to show up as their best selves. Right? You're seeing
Mm.
sports teams do this. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
I love Ted Lasso. We're actually rewatching it right now with our 15-year-old,
Yeah.
and she is enamored, and she's probably learning a few new words.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No,
the language is colorful in Ted Lasso. But yeah,
it
it's
is.
wonderful.
It is great, but they have one of the leading roles is that sports psychologist, and she's really
Oh,
a
yeah.
life psychologist, not just a sports psychologist, but it's about
Mm.
having people show up so that when they get on the pitch, they can play their best game and play, with anything holding them back.
I've read a statistic, and feel free to correct this, but that you have a 98% success rate in matching coaches to employees.
Yeah.
In a world where dating apps can't do that, how have you cracked the code on human compatibility
So
without relying on like a cold algorithm?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things that we kind of drew a line in the sand and we said, let's have humans match humans. Let's get to know all of our coaches. And it's hard to do because we literally have, right now we're about to add some more coaches. We'll have over 100 coaches in the next couple of weeks because we're continuing to add new clients. We need to have the coach ranks, but we have every single coach goes through a training program. They're met by our head of coaching and our number two head of coaching. and our director of coach recruitment. And so they get to know the coaches. And then when we bring in participants to our coaching program, we sign up a company and they say, here's 50 people we want to coach. We interview them as well and we get to know them. So we're truly like human matchmakers and we don't use
Hmm.
algorithms because we let the human beings do this. And so because of that, we have a very low rate of changing out coaches. But I'll be the first to tell somebody, if you walk away from your first session and you don't tell me that it was life altering because of something you learned, you're not getting enough out of it. And we're going to change up your coach because that is the possibility. Every single first session, second session should be life changing. And if it's not, we made a bad match and let's fix it. Fix it fast.
Wow, man, so good. What about AI coaching? Are you a believer in that? And I know people, that might be a new term, but people are using, chatbots. Some other organizations are focused on technology of that.
Yep.
What's been your experience with it? Are you a believer in that?
Yeah, so I'm somewhat a believer in it, Ben. I think that there is a place for it in kind of up to the minute. Hey, I've got this. I'm handling this. What are some ideas? And I can get some ideas. But when we get into mindset, right? A big part of the coaching that we do is about mindset. It's about releasing people from their limiting beliefs or other things going on that they've had possibly for many, many years, right? And
Hmm.
that's not something, in my opinion, that an AI chatbot can do. Now, if I say, listen, I have to have a difficult conversation with an employee and I type this into Chat GPT and I mention a couple things, it's going to give me some good options. But when it comes to releasing me from limiting beliefs or other mindset challenges that I might be having, I want my coach doing that. I want to have a human
Hmm.
conversation. I want to have a human
Yeah.
relationship to help me solve it. And again, it's not situational, it's about a journey. And so our
Yeah.
coaches know exactly where their participants want to go. We talk about 3 month, 6 month, 12-month, and long term goals. Where are you trying to take your life? I want to be on that journey with
Yeah.
you and want to help you so that I don't show up. This is one of the things I say. I don't ever want our coaches showing up and saying, so, Ben, what's the most important thing we talk about today? I want them showing up and saying, hey, Ben, I've got an agenda based on where you and I have talked about you want to go. I want to leave room to make sure we talk about anything that's come up since the last time we talked.
Yeah.
Where can we
Mm.
where would you like to start? I can go back to our agenda. And you might say, go back to the agenda. And what it does is it takes the anxiety away from you showing up for that meeting, looking at your calendar like, oh crap, I got my coaching session today at 2 o'clock. What are we going to talk about? You don't have that
Yeah.
anxiety because I know the journey we're supposed to be on.
Yeah. I love that. I've had many coaches throughout my career. And in fact, I did my own coaching certification years ago. Uh, through and did the whole certification piece of that. And I got to tell you, it's such a valuable resource for people. The problem has always been with coaching is the scalability of it
Yep.
and making it available to a lot of people, especially beyond the corner office.
Yep.
And it sounds like you've got a framework to do that now.
We've
What's your dream for this thing? By the way, I want to get into your personal career, so y'all stick around because we're going to get into. But I want to hear like what's your bigger dream here for Activate 180 and the impact it can make?
Yeah. So, we right now are coaching about 1,000 people. Our goal is in the next 3 years to 10x that and be able to change quite a few lives. And we're already seeing that scale. What's amazing. And most of
Wow.
our clients we have NDAs with, but a lot of these companies, we might start with 8 or 10 or 12. And then over a period of 2, 3 years, that scales to 100 or 150 or 200 because they see the changes that we've made in people's lives. And so it's one of those things that multiplies on itself and builds on itself, especially as companies build.
Hmm.
Our biggest client, who's been with us 4.5 years since we actually first launched it to outside companies, has tripled the size of their company. They were 500 million when we started. They're 1.5 billion. We
Wow.
coach into the hundreds with them, and it's pretty remarkable to see. And so that scale is something that is rewarding to me and also my partner Zach Smith. And when we look at that, we're like, okay, let's keep doing this. And one of the things I will tell you is, we're building a great company while we're changing a lot of lives. And again, CEOs will often send us notes that they're getting from their employees that will tell us something personal that they've experienced or uncovered through coaching. And it's pretty remarkable. The people that we put into
mm.
companies have got to create outcomes or we didn't succeed. And so start talking about what those companies are trying to achieve with this hire. And let's wrap around that some, ways that we can ensure that they're going to get there, including coaching that person when they land. One of the biggest reasons why an executive who has the skills and the experience to do the job fails in a company is oftentimes they did not culturally integrate effectively. Our onboarding coaching helps that, right? We want to make sure that the organ doesn't reject the body or the body doesn't reject the organ in both ways. And so by coaching,
Wow.
we can help solve for that.
Wow. It's powerful. Now, in the Rod McDermott lore, I have heard that you have been a boss since the ripe age of 13 years old. But before that, and your dad was quite a business executive.
He was, yeah.
From what I understand.
Yeah.
So what was the most helpful thing that you're...
He still
Wait, what's that?
He still has it at 92. I just had dinner with him the other day. He flew
at 92.
At 92, and we talk about things. Don't forget, leader's number one job is to inspire.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inspire.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I was going to ask you what you learned over those dinners as a kid that really inspired you to get into business and to really help launch your career. Did you always know from a young age that you were going to start a company and get into something cool like this, or what?
Yeah, I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I always knew it. I worked for some big companies, I worked for Citicorp right out of college, and a couple of, New York at their headquarters, and Texas for a couple of years, and another big bank that sold to Bank of America many years ago. And so I've worked for big companies, but I always knew deep down I wanted to grow and run something and build it. And I am at the core an entrepreneur. I love starting things. I love risk. I wouldn't say I'm a crazy risk taker. I'm a pilot. I fly planes and I take calculated risks when I do that. But I love building and I love the challenge. I always say, Ben, we came into this world with nothing. We're going to leave with exactly what we came in with. And the only thing that matters is the space in between. What are we going to do with the space in between? And so I want to live a big life. And the way to do that, I think, is to go for it.
So what do you do to take a calculated risk?
So first thing I do is I start with something that I can get really passionate and purposeful about, right? I got to have a why behind it. If I don't have a why, when it inevitably gets tough, I'll throw in the towel, right? Everything gets tough. Everything gets tough. I haven't found a business yet that just, even you look at, SpaceX, right? They destroyed a bunch of rockets. Right now, that company is looking at the biggest IPO probably in history this year. You look at Elon's other company, Tesla, almost bankrupt many years ago, right? Like a dozen years ago, and look at it now, right? So everything has major challenges. If you're not personally connected to the why, in my opinion, then when you hit those bumps in the road, you won't have shock absorbers, and you'll turn around and say, okay, I'm getting off this road. So step
makes a big difference on it.
Yeah. Step one, it can't just be a business that I can go in and make a lot of money at. It's got to be something I can be really passionate about. And for me, it's about creating opportunities for our people. It's about changing lives of others. And that's what I've always been passionate about. I don't look at our businesses as a coaching company or an executive search firm. I look at them as kind of a talent advisory firm. And when I use the word talent, it's not just a person. I don't say human capital. I say talent. Talent is different. Talent is the best tennis players in the world. It's the best actors and actresses in the world. It's that level, right? And so to us, it's about finding those people and then about unleashing them to do their good on the world.
Oh man, I love that. Bigger calling. Otherwise, don't take the risk. It's not just about the money, because I guess you're doing just about the money. It's more like a gamble. But like a risk taking is something to get something perhaps more noble
Yeah.
than just a bet in Vegas.
Yeah, and what do you
Um,
do? What do you do when the cards are going against you in Vegas? You ultimately pick up and walk away.
yeah.
But what happens
There's
when
no
the
reason to keep playing
Yeah, you don't have a reason, but if you have a why behind it, you're all in.
to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll make it work. No, I've also understand, like you mentioned, that you're a seasoned pilot, and that you perhaps have had a Mayday moment, and you've called your flight instructor during the Mayday moment while you're on the plane. Is this an accurate story?
Done that a few times, yeah. So I've got a
Okay.
lot of hours. I've got about
You-
7,000 hours. For a person that's never been a professional pilot, that's a decent number of hours. And I've owned 5 different airplanes and flown all over, mostly North America, but flew to Europe before and kinda crossed the Atlantic and island hopped over. So you do have some of those, "Oh, crap" moments, and it's nice to phone a friend every once in a while.
You got a favorite moment when you found the friend and it helped you get through it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I've had a few. There was one time I was actually coming into, New Orleans Lakefront Airport, and, I had a flap fail, and, I was flying a small jet, and I'm coming in, and so I ended up, like, climbing up and circling around a little longer, took out the
Hmm.
sat phone, called, the head of engineering of the company that made the aircraft, and this is a problem. I won't tell you the plane I was flying at the time, but when you have the head of engineering's cell phone, number stored in your sat phone, that may be a problem. But I called him up and I said, "Jonathan, I'm having a problem here." He goes, "Okay, let me walk you through it. Let me show you what to do." And it's like there's certain things you train for,
Dang.
there's certain things you don't. Now, obviously, I could do a no flap landing with no problem, and I train for those every year. But if you can figure out a way to bypass that and get things working again and do a recycle, or let's call it a reboot,
Hmm.
you do those things. But I've had a few of those. I had depressurization at 27,000 feet once. I had a door seal fail at
Oh,
45,000 feet, and the plane did not depressurize, but it did depressurize to about 10,500. So I had to do a emergency descent and do all that. And you declare an emergency.
wow.
Yeah, I almost had a
And
fire
so,
once.
oh gosh,
Yeah,
man.
this is a piston
Ye-
aircraft. Um,
Yet you keep flying.
Yet I keep flying, yeah. No, and usually, and actually, it's funny. So this is the key I use in business too. There's a saying in flying: "Fly the plane to the scene of the crash." When you get in trouble, it's because you stop flying the plane. It's the same thing in business. Business is no different,
Huh.
right? When you're facing
Interesting.
a recession, or you're facing some major competitive challenges or something else, keep flying the plane. Don't stop. Right? The plane is
Wow.
is is there to
Hmm.
fly. As long as you got 2
Hmm.
wings, it's gonna fly. You don't even need an engine. Just with
It'll
its
glide.
it'll glide. And so you don't
Yeah.
stop
Hmm.
flying the plane, and that's the big key.
Oh man, it ties in so well with us.
Yeah.
I also understand you've had the Midas touch in business, and maybe a few times where you did not have the Midas touch.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, what have you learned about through those moments that were more humbling in business, or maybe one of your ventures didn't go as well?
Well, so as I shared with you before, one of the first things I've taken away when I've had businesses that have failed is that if I didn't have a connection to the why behind that business, then I didn't fight the good
Yes.
fight. I just didn't stay in the fight. At some
Mm,
point, I kind of packed up my bags and left. And so that was a big part. So I said, for now on, whenever I get into a business, I want to have a why behind it. I want something driving me where I feel like I can change lives. And that's my purpose behind this thing.
mm.
And if I don't, when I hit those bumps, I'm probably gonna hightail it. The second thing is I don't really I don't really believe in failure. I believe in education. And I believe that every time you don't succeed at something, you're learning how to get to success. So when I first started
Mm.
selling executive search and I had no book of business, I had no client base, I didn't have a Rolodex for anybody that remembers what a Rolodex is. I didn't have
I
any of
do.
that. You do. Uh,
Yeah, I got it.
and I failed a lot, and I had this visual in my head. Those stepping stones that you put, like, on the side of your yard through the grass, through the mud that you walk along? I had this this
Yes.
visualization, like I would step on a stepping stone and it would flash fail. And then the next one fail. And the next one fail. But there was one that would flash success. I just didn't
Mm.
know exactly where it was. And so I would tell myself, keep failing, keep failing, keep failing. Fail
Keep
fast.
stepping.
Yeah. Fail fast, fail
Yeah.
often. You'll get to success faster. And so I don't believe in failures. I believe in all these experiences being part of my MBA and teaching me how to
Mm.
get to that success stepping stone at some point.
Yeah, so good. And it does go to show me that that is a growth mindset. And through that, like you could not have gotten to success if you hadn't had the failure
Right.
because you wouldn't have had the stepping stones. You would have been stepping on the stepping stones to begin with to get you where you are right now.
Yeah. And Activate
Such a
180
positive
is a
mindset.
perfect example. Activate was 180 was our phase 2 business plan. Not phase 1, phase 2.
Huh.
Phase 1, which we launched, and then we did a pilot of Activate 180 as phase 2, and that pilot went well. We ended up doing the beta at the same time we were doing phase 1 of the other plan. The other plan didn't work. We tried. We
Wow.
really
Okay.
hard. We put a couple
It was
other
a stepping stone.
it was a stepping stone, and then we said,
Yes.
"Shift, time to pivot." And I still have a love of that other idea, that other business. It's very much
Mm.
related, but it's about helping people identify and then land their dream jobs. We called it Project
Oh, man.
Activate. And
Okay.
it was about digging deep into people, like what their loves were, what their passions were, and aligning those with their vocation. How can you turn your
Mm.
avocation into your vocation
Yeah.
and feel like you're not like you probably don't feel like you're working, you know?
Yeah.
And
Man. That's a beautiful thing. That reminds me of I think it's like a Mark Twain quote. Secret to happiness is making your vocation your vacation or
yeah,
vice versa.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, finding that, man,
yeah.
it's so good.
So at some
And I
point,
bet
we're still gonna do that, but, we weren't able to find ultimate success in that, but this was always going to be what we're gonna do with our coaches was, utilize the coaches when we weren't doing the dream job program to do corporate coaching, and this took off
yes.
like a rocket.
Wow.
Who knew?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's really cool. And for leaders, it's a lot of things for leaders to take away here. One is the purpose piece, because I think starting back to that, you won't keep stepping on the stepping stones if there's not a bigger purpose at play here in terms of what you're trying to do. And I think a lot of leaders don't take the time to do that. They focus on maybe the financial piece or the money component first, and they sort of say, I'll think about purpose later. Or maybe they have it for themselves, but they don't share it with their team and the team doesn't understand. And then they miss on that.
Yeah.
And then that drives to that piece. And man, you guys I love how you're really practicing what you preach in terms of, like your own business, your own life, and how you're bringing this to Activate 180. Now, a couple of quick fire questions. What's one thing you've changed your mind on, Rod, in the last 12 months?
Hmm. Um I will say that, and I've been trying to teach some of my folks this too. As we've been developing and growing a lot of young people in our various companies, one of the things I'll notice is people will get an idea and they'll glom onto that's the answer. That's what we need to do. And so one of the things, and I think I developed that in people too, because I would see something and I'd go for it and I swim around all the other stuff. Now I'm kind of stepping back and saying, okay, I like that too. Let's put that aside. Let's say we
Hmm.
can't do that. What's another one? Let's come up with multiple choice things. So I've tried to divorce myself the idea that there's a single good answer and now come up with multiple choice things, 2 or 3 things. And then sometimes the best
Hmm.
answer as we debate it and talk about it can be a morphing of I'm having a hard time saying that word, a morphing of 2 or 3 of those different answers.
Okay.
And so sometimes getting to it really fast is not
Hmm.
necessarily the best thing. So I have a coach who says
Wow.
to me, sometimes if you want to go fast, you got to go slow to go fast.
Oh, yes. I love that expression
Yeah.
and sage advice. And in a world of AI and externals changing so quickly, it can be hard to create the space for that. You're like, give me the answer, give me the idea, and we're going with it. And being able to take a step back and get additional ideas and let them morph or piggyback on one another. I mean, that is a skill, not just to even create the space for that to happen. Do you have a favorite morphed idea that's that's really resonated with you recently? That like, hey, if we didn't have taken that approach, I doubt we would even have gotten that idea.
Yeah. So in Activate, for an example, because we really the idea behind Bill Campbell and what he did at Google and Apple and some other companies being on a 20-year journey, we've always thought in terms of our own experience being, hey, we have a coach, we get to meet with that coach every month. That's what we want. When we work
Mm.
with companies that have a learning and development department, their training is all about doing a program, and they want to do a cohort, and they say it lasts X amount of time.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
so something that I've had to learn, and I've always said, well, I don't like that because that's not the journey. That's just a snapshot. And maybe it's a 6-month snapshot, but it's almost like, I have a laptop and I'm going to, hey, Ben, I got the greatest thing in the world. You're going to get rid of, I still have these, so I'm going to show it to you. It's on my desk, but I still have pads of paper floating around.
You have real paper pads
I
in your
know.
office.
I still like those. I'm the only one that
Wow.
uses it. But I have this great
I
thing. I'm
love
going to
it.
get rid of that and I'm going to give you this laptop. And it's going to be life changing and it's going to be so productive. But in 6 months, I'm going to take it away and I'm going to give it to somebody else. And that's what
Hmm.
coaching programs are like. We're going to give them a 6-month taste and we're going to give them the greatest thing in the world. And then we're going to take it away. And so I had a real aversion to this. And my partner, Zach, said, Rod, this is a journey. You're trying to climb the mountain all in one go. Sometimes you have to climb up. The mountain is not just the mountain. There's a series of hills. Let's get up the first
Okay.
hill.
Yes.
Let's get up the first
Yes.
hill. And then we'll worry
Yes.
about the next hill and the next hill from there. And this is about creating believers. Let's show them what we can do. And then
Yeah.
we can get to
Great.
this ongoing coaching thing.
Well, Rod, it's been a fun one today. Where can our listeners find you and your companies, and how should they engage with you if they want to learn more?
Listen, I'm very happy to get emails from people. It's really simple. It's my last name, McDermott at mbexec.com or rmcdermott at activate180.com. Either one I get. But happy to have people look up and they can get us through our websites too. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active over there, Ben. So if people want to reach out there, I've enjoyed this too. This has been great. I appreciate you firing off these questions and going deep with me.
Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, Ben. It was fun.